We just need to pray that this is not the day that Swampert came to play with Sludge Wave. What is going on, everyone? Ox here with another video. If you're new to the channel, we do upload Pokemon Go content mostly related to PvP, and if you're a returning subscriber like Kiyoshi, thank you for the support. In today's video, we are taking a look at some battles in the Open Great League featuring a very spicy team with the new Fairy Wind Whimsicott. The team being featured for this video will be operating in a sort of ABB style. Both Whimsicott and Dragonite are going to be very weak to Ice, as well as Steel types. However, Dragonite does have access to Superpower, which could help fight back in some of those matchups. The idea is to lure out one of those Pokemon, at which point Girafarig is going to come in with counter. Girafarig, of course, is not the best answer for a Steel or Ice type. However, these are very early ranked battles, and we want to keep things a little bit spicy. So apart from Dragonite, which even still, according to PvPoke, is ranked 65 for the Great League, these are some pretty off-meta picks, and it should come as no surprise that this team has a rating of F4 coverage as a result. The best way to show your support is with a like and a comment down below, and without any further ado, let's jump into the first battle right now. So jumping into these battles with a very spicy team, and as you could see displayed to the right of your screen, this team is going to have many weaknesses. If you're looking for a more competitive variant of this team, I'd recommend swapping out Girafarig for a Pokemon like Galarian Stunfisk. It's still going to have some holes, however it should provide for more consistent results. Girafarig into Altaria, not a great lead to see. We swap out into Dragonite, which also isn't the best answer for Altaria. Thankfully though, the opponent does swap out immediately into Sableye, which presents us with an opportunity to win switch. Although we are forced to burn a shield here in order to guarantee switch, there is a high likelihood that we will get that shield in return from the opponent with a Dragon Claw to Altaria. Now although Whimsicott is a fairy type, it's also a grass type, which means that we resist the dragon type damage, but we're still taking super effective damage from the sky attack coming from Altaria. Not running Charm in this situation means that we are not applying as much fast move pressure to Altaria, and with the big energy lead they got from farming the Dragonite, they are actually going to outpace us in reaching 2 sky attacks before we can reach 2 moves on the Whimsicott. Now going for the Grass Knot here is a massive risk, and in hindsight is not worth it, because even when we do bait, we are not going to outpace them to the Moonblast before they reach the next sky attack, and if they decide to no shield, we are also going to be at a shield disadvantage. Now thankfully in this situation they did shield. Vigoroth comes in, we swap out to prevent the farm, and Girafarig has a pretty good matchup here with counter, dealing super effective damage, whereas the normal psychic typing on Girafarig means we are only taking neutral damage in return. And right now seems like a pretty good time to let everyone know that for the majority of these battles, I thought Girafarig, for whatever reason, was a pure normal type Pokemon. And in this race to the finish, Whimsicott with 3 fairy wins is gonna put Vigoroth in a bin, the trash bin that is. And we're off to a winning start here in the Open Great League with this spicy team. Girafarig into Scrafty. This is a very interesting matchup. Scrafty is taking super effective damage from the counters, resisting these psychic things, but that will lower the defense. Girafarig is taking super effective damage from the foul play, so this matchup could go either way, but I think for the most part it does favor Scrafty, so I'm going to throw the psychic things and then swap out into the Dragonite. And of course, running ABB, definitely need to lure this thing out. Unfamiliar with this matchup, expecting the shield. Bang! But they survive. I was not expecting Lapras to tank a superpower from Dragonite, and expecting a Surf, I came in with Whimsicott to take resisted damage, but instead we get the best case scenario until we see this. Victory Bell running Razor Leaf, but it's not a Shadow, so it's dealing less damage, but at the same time it's resisting all of our moves, so I probably should have just went straight for the Moonblast, but if they're not going to shield the first, they're probably not going to shield the second, and thankfully they let that go, saving their shields for a Scrafty with a very low HP. We definitely will survive this power-up punch and force a shield with the Grass Knot, but at this stage in the battle, there is no reason for us to go for charge moves with Girafarig. Just commit to the straight counter down, shield up the potential foul play, and call it a day. Put a frown on the face of that Scrafty as low as its pants. And that's going to be the end of its dance. 2 wins for this team, that's the same amount as Chelsea in the past 15 games. Let's hop into the next one. And before any of you start getting carried away and thinking this team is OP, remember, these are early rank battles. It's not going to perform like this in the higher ranks. Girafarig into Sableye, horrible lead, but we got 2 decent answers in the back. Swap out to Dragonite, opponent is staying in. We are going to overfarm, shield up this foul play, and they swap out into a Charizard. Now you might be thinking to yourself, damn, this looks hard. Very unlikely we could win Switch, but if we actually just learned out the hardest counter to Whimsicott on their team, then we still have a dream. Let the Dragonite go down, come back in with Girafarig, and we want to get off a move ASAP. Psychic Fangs will not KO, but it's going to lower the defense, and when they know shield, we can now let Girafarig go down as well. Lower defense from the Psychic Fangs should put them in Fairy Wind range, but even with the defense being dropped, these Fairy Winds are doing absolutely nothing. We need to call the Dragon Claw bait. And the opponent swaps out into the Sableye. I need to ensure that we force their final shield before they get ours. And in case it's a return, we have no choice but to shield up this move. Once we do that, we are going to overfarm 1 past the Grass Knot in order to have an energy lead against the final Pokemon, and just pray that it's something like a Swampert in the back. Not entirely sure at the time what else could be at risk of being one-shot by Whimsicott. And here comes a Medicham. It's an XL, it's thick, but is it going to be feeling sick? Bang, there it is. Someone call Rihanna, Pondy replay. Medicham just met its doom, getting sent straight to the moon. And just for good measure, Fairy Wind down the Charizard. Whimsicott OP. That's win number 3. 4 more and we'll match the Liverpool score. 7-0 versus Manchester United. Looking more like Manchester Ignited because they were absolutely smoked. Let's hop into a more even matchup. Girafarig into Registeel. This is a situation where the opponent's lead Pokemon has a good matchup against both of our backline, so staying in with the Girafarig is the correct play. Not entirely sure what the best way to play out this matchup is, but I figured going for a Psychic Fangs plus a Thunderbolt should be enough to KO. We will of course need to use one of our shields. Not getting the attack drop from Zap Cannon feels like a miracle despite it only being a 50% chance. And the opponent comes in with Jellicent, so I was definitely expecting a shield here on this Thunderbolt, but they let it go through. Surf is going to deal nice damage, but not enough to take us out. We will now reach a Psychic Fangs, which will be enough to take Jellicent out, and Girafarig is on an absolute rampage. But I just made the first of many errors to come by swapping out and not throwing that Psychic Fangs. This Dragon Breath damage would have been piling on the Pelipper after the defense drop. And at this point, all I really need to do is shield and we should be able to win this game. But you know I like to call those baits. And sometimes it leads to the opponent's checkmates. Going to shield up what I hoped was a Hurricane, but the opponent baits with the Weather Ball. And although it's looking like this potential loss is a result of me throwing, let's give some credit to the opponent, because they are putting on a masterclass, and we are simply just taking it up, well, you know. Insane catch from the opponent. That is the win con, and Girafarig is only 1 double kick away from the Psychic Fangs, which would be enough to KO, but unfortunately 2 wing attacks is also enough. GG to the opponent, very well played. We definitely made a couple of mistakes in that battle, but there is no denying that the opponent took full advantage and executed perfectly. Positive set with this team nonetheless, we'll take it. So let's jump into the second half of this video. We've seen a general idea of how this team works. Dragonite looking to lure out the hard counter for Whimsicott, and in the best case scenario, we Moonblast a Medicham for the win. Tried to catch a Hydro Cannon onto the Dragonite, but the opponent banks that energy instead and swaps out into Galarian Stunfisk. Dragonite could survive a Rock Slide here, and there is no threat of being Mud Shot down, so we don't need to shield the first move. Going to go for the Dragon Claw baits here. If they end up shielding this, we could flip this matchup quite comfortably. Since there is no threat of being Mud Shot down, we can now outpace to 2 superpowers, which should be enough to take out Galarian Stunfisk. So even though Shadow Dragonite is ranked significantly higher, the normal Dragonite could still bang its way to victories. The opponent comes in with Charizard, and we are able to reach this Dragon Claw, which is huge, but more importantly, it's going to allow us to keep the Whimsicott away. Girafarig will now come in. We have energy stored from the lead matchup, going to throw this Psychic Fangs, which will force the shield. And at this point, we cannot risk this being a blast burn because Charizard has too much HP remaining. This is a CMP tie, so we are guaranteed to get off this Psychic Fangs, take out the Charizard, and then have our Whimsicott aligned onto the Swampert. The only problem here is that we are shields down, and Swampert has access to Sludge Wave. We are a Fairy plus Grass type, so that is going to be absolutely destroying Whimsicott and its entire family. We just need to pray that this is not the day that Swampert came to play with Sludge Wave. And thankfully it's not, so Whimsicott about to get that one shot with the Grass Knot. Hit him with that bang, there it is. Sludge Wave would have put us in a grave, but thankfully, not today. Jumping into the next battle, let's see what else this team could do. We are leading Girafarig into a Azumarill. This seems like a matchup that Girafarig should be able to win with some sort of combination of Psychic Fangs plus Thunderbolt. But Azumarill is quite bulky, so it might be bait dependent. Let's see how this one plays out. We are going for the Psychic Fangs first. Ideally, you would love a shield here, but it almost makes no sense for Azumarill to shield the first move. Defense is going to drop. We are going to let this first Ice Beam go through. As you can see, it is dealing a lot of damage, and we're pretty much only going to get to one Thunderbolt here, it looks like, so going straight for it. Let's see if they respect it. Bang, there it is. Azumarill taken out. Sableye comes in now, going to go for the Psychic Fangs, which is going to go a long way in lowering the defense on this opponent. At this point, we will come in with the Whimsicott just because it puts more pressure on the opponent to go for the return. Foul play is going to be resisted, so we are going to respect it. And they now swap out into Alolan Marowak and they catch this move. This is very bad news for us, but it is a Shadow Alolan Marowak, which means even though it is resisted, it's still going to be dealing a hefty chunk to the Marowak. That in turn results in them giving up a shield, which is a huge break for us. Dragonite now comes in. We correctly call the Shadow Bone, and we should now be able to outpace to this next Dragon Claw, which is going to be able to take out the Alolan Marowak. At this point, there is almost no win con left for the opponent because they need to take out not only Dragonite, but still reach a return for the Whimsicott. And when the going gets tough, they don't want the smoke. Looks like the opponent forced closed the app. We're forced to sit here and wait for this animation. Another win with this team in the early ranks of the season. And once again, a friendly reminder that this team is pure spice and not recommended. Jumping into the next battle, we are leading Girafarig into a Toxapex. This is not the greatest matchup, but we do have Psychic Fangs and Thunderbolts hitting for super effective. Obviously, if we had Confusion, this would be a dominant matchup, and I thought that might have been a reason for the opponent to switch out. But as you're going to see in the end, they're just running a classic ABB team. Trevenant comes out. It is going to lure out the Dragonite. I don't believe they did even build up to the Shadow Ball, so going to let the Seed Bomb go through, and we will be able to take them out with a Dragon Claw and Dragon Breath before they reach a Shadow Ball. Now Toxapex comes back in, and it looks like they are just going to commit to the complete farm down. So they are absolutely loaded on energy. We will come back in with the Girafarig, hoping this is only a brine so it won't hurt as much as a Sludge Wave. But as you are about to see, it doesn't really matter what move they threw because we have no answer for this grass flying type in the back. It's not Tropius, it's not Jumpluff, it's the most unexpected Pokemon I have never seen in Go Battle League before, a Vivian. Now I recently referred to this Pokemon as the Walmart Butterfree, but in reality this is actually the luxury brand version, and according to PvPoke, it's the top rated butterfly Pokemon. So shout out to this trainer for the spice, play the ABB team to perfection, luring out the Dragonite with the Trevenant, and then sweeping things up with the Vivian in the back. And if you thought that was some nice early rank spice, look at this guy right here. That is actually an XL Farfetch'd, and this might sound far-fetched, but for some reason I thought that was a Surfetch'd. So I immediately swapped out into Dragonite, not realizing. And when the opponent ended up throwing Aerial Ace, I was thinking to myself, when the heck did Surfetch'd learn Aerial Ace? And why would anyone run Aerial Ace on Surfetch'd? Well, obviously it's not Surfetch'd, so that explains that, but look at this spice right here. Opponent bringing Farfetch'd and an XL Pachirisu into the Open Great League, and they are going for the complete Volt Switch down. They have a lot of energy, but they decide to let this go down. This means that Farfetch'd is going to come back in, and with that Fury Cutter, it's going to get a massive farm. Now, it was only at this exact moment in the battle right here that I realized this is not a Surfetch'd, it's a Farfetch'd. So I came in with the Girafarig, and unfortunately I did get a little greedy here going for the extra double kick, which allows the opponent to throw another charge move. That's going to force our shield. I have to throw a Psychic Fangs here anyways. The opponent lets that go through, and they come in with the Pokemon I thought I was up against the entire time, Surfetch'd. This of course is fantastic news because Psychic Fangs is going to be dealing super effective damage while also lowering the defense, and they have no Pokemon left to swap out to and reset that debuff. We also have Whimsicott in the back, a fairy type, which is going to be resisting both Leaf Blade and Night Slash. The only threat here is if Surfetch'd is running Brave Bird, but we are not going to find out because Fairy Wind just charges too damn fast. And for this one, we don't need a Moonblast. Grass Knot is enough for the Whimsicott. Shout out to the opponent for the incredible spice and making this team look nice. Now, despite what you just saw, this team is not recommended, and in case you're still wondering, Vivian is also not recommended. But hopefully you found these battles entertaining. If you did, please consider leaving a like and a comment down below, and I hope to see you all in the next video.